about a year to 18 months ago, I made a video about super yachts and firearms, and I talked about why super yachts don't generally carry firearms on board.
Here is a story to float your boat. Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich is adding to his yacht collection. It's called the Eclipse, and it's about 560 feet long. It sports several features you won't usually find at your local dock: bulletproof glass, a missile defense system, and an anti-paparazzi laser shield.
Well, it's not true. So that video is over 18 months old. It's done about 500,000 views now, and it is now it's firmly in the grip of the firearms gun nuts in the US. I'm not suggesting they're all gun nuts, but there's a lot. If you just have to go through those comments on that video, and you'll see there's a lot of gun nuts on there, suggesting that one guy even suggested that he would, on his yacht, he would place explosives around his yacht on timers, and if he was arrested, then it would blow up the yacht in the port, so nobody would get a hold of his yacht. So you can see what I mean when I say gun nuts. What I'm going to try to do is address the most common comments that I get on that video, because I get comments on that video every day. Even now, like multiple comments every day, and there is a theme to the comments, and I want to address those comments in this video. So what I've done is I've made a note on my phone here of the most common comments, and I'm going to go through them and explain why those solutions wouldn't work. The point of that video was to say you don't need to carry firearms. That's the point. Is that it's not. Why would you go to all that trouble to carry something that you don't need, right? If every time you went out to sea you were getting attacked by pirates, first of all, billionaires wouldn't have super yachts if that was the case, because why would you want to go out? If it was so dangerous, nobody would ever be going out for pleasure yachting, right? So you don't need to carry them, so you don't need to have them. So why would you carry them? Because it's so difficult to get clearance. That was the point of the video. So I'm going to go through some of the comments. These are, like I said, these are the most common comments, and we'll go through them one by one. And I've got some, for the end, I've got some crazy comments as well. So, okay, so the first one is money buys anything. So this is a suggestion that if you've got the money to own a super yacht, you can just bribe everyone. Every port you go to, you can bribe them. Right, well, firstly, that doesn't work. Like this idea that because you're a billionaire, you can just pay people off. It works in some countries. I've seen it happen, even on cruise ships, mainly like Middle East and some places in the Caribbean. You might be able to get away with it, but we're talking about for minor things like getting early clearance, not so you can carry missiles and machine guns and stuff like that. So that doesn't work. Money buys anything is not true. The second one is, so these are the most frequent ones. So I get this one almost every day. It's keep the super yacht in international waters and then go in on the tender. Well, if you think about it, international waters starts at 12 miles. Now, so let's say you're going to the Monaco Yacht Show, and you're going to be in Monaco for a week. So you want to leave your super yacht 12 miles out in international waters so you can go to Monaco. First of all, your boat is out at 12 miles, which is a long way. It's very rough out there. It's potentially in a shipping lane, so it's blocking shipping lanes. The weather's rough. You've got to use fuel constantly. You're in dynamic positioning because you can't drop anchor because 12 miles out, it's too deep. So you'd be using DP, which is dynamic positioning, which means you're using the engines all day. That uses a lot of fuel. Secondly, the owner's got to get in a little tender and then go in 12 miles in this tiny little tender in God knows what kind of weather. So that's not practical. So you can't do that. Like I said, also the super yacht's using food, it's using fuel, and that's only if you're in for 4 days. What if you're planning on going to the south of France for a month? Abramovich's boat, Eclipse, it sits in the south of France, down near Juan-les-Pins. It sits down there for months. So he doesn't even have the use of his super yacht now because it's out at 12 miles, so it's not practical. The flip side of that question is leave the tender out at sea with all the weapons in at 12 miles and then sail the super yacht in. So okay, so now we've resolved the problem with the super yacht. The boss has got the use of his super yacht while he's in Chulalongkorn for a month. But now you've got maybe 1 or 2 guys in a little tender, 12 miles out, in God knows what kinds of conditions, in a little boat, with no food, no supplies, no fuel. That's not practical either. Now some of the comments say, well, just have 2 yachts and keep one out in international waters. Okay, so theoretically that is a kind of a solution, but at the same time, like I said, the same thing about having the vessel out in international waters means it's in the shipping, possibly in the shipping lane. You've got to use dynamic positioning to keep it in position because you have to fight against these waters, that possible storms and etc. etc. Theoretically you could keep sailing around so you're still moving, but then you're using fuel, right? So then you have to, when the yacht leaves, the one that the boss is on, then that other yacht's going to need to refuel at some point. So now you've got to transfer the weapons onto the other yacht so that one can go and refuel, and it's just you have to be really your life would have to be guns to want to do all of this stuff. And the idea that a billionaire has got all the money he needs so he can do this and he doesn't care about the money. That's not how billionaires become billionaires, by not caring about money. They do care about money. They don't want to spend more than they have to, unless it's on something they want to do. Another one is put your weapons in a sinkable container and mark your GPS position and collect when you leave. Well, that's not really practical either. First of all, you have to have a sinkable container. So you're marking your position and you're dropping it in the water. So when anybody who knows anything about underwater activities, when you drop something in the water, it's not going to go straight down. It's not going to go straight down like this to the bottom. It's going to drift with currents. So unless you physically send down a diver, let's say, and place it on the bottom, it's not a solution, right? Now, if you're out 12 miles, the depth of the water could be 2 miles deep. So how do you place this container on the seabed? You can't send a diver down 2 miles. You can't drop it straight down because, like I said, it's not going to land where you left it. So you take a GPS position. When you come back, how do you recover it? You could theoretically put a flotation device and then drop the thing down and then take the GPS and have a flotation device. However, another vessel sailing past when you go into port could see that flotation device and haul up the catch, and they've got your weapons and off they go. So that's not a practical solution. So those are the most common comments in that comment section for that last video. And like I said, those comments, I get those every day. Each one of those comments I get sometimes multiple times a day, every day. So, but they don't work. Okay, another subject was a comment I made in the video about anti-missile systems. And I said that an anti-missile system is a missile system, right? So anything that fires to intercept missiles, it's firing missiles. Like the Patriot system or the Iron Dome that the Israelis have. Those are types of anti-missile systems. And what they do is they intercept a missile with a missile, right? So that's the one I talked about. And a lot of comments, which I still get to this day, saying that anti-missile systems are not just missile systems. There are other types of systems like chaff and flares, radar jamming, and a device that shoots bullets and instead of missiles, like a phalanx system.
20,000 yards. Phalanx search only. AW Auto, select hold fire.
Confirmed, right target right.
Now, all of those things are illegal too, so that's why I didn't even comment on any of those, because you can't use radar jamming in an area where there's shipping, because you're gonna jam everybody's radar. So some guy is sailing in his oil tanker, and you jam his radar, and all of a sudden he collides with another vessel at night, because at night you're using your radar solely. You can't look out the window at night. You don't have spotlights, headlights and stuff. So you might cause a big incident with your radar jamming. So you can't use that. It's not legal. And chaff and flares, they're pyrotechnics, right? So you can only carry the pyrotechnics you're allowed to carry on board a vessel are approved by all of the international maritime authorities, like flares for when if you're in a distress situation, you can fire flares, and you can have you can have the rocket flares that come down on a parachute, and then you can have another one that floats in the water and it just fires off smoke flares, things like that. But those other types, they would all be illegal, so you wouldn't be allowed to carry them. It'd be the equivalent of carrying firearms. Just dump your weapons over the side when you get into port, so throw them away, and then buy new ones when you leave. Now, there was in a previous video I did talk about a tanker that would sail, and they would carry weapons, and then they would throw the weapons away when they got to port. Because there was a tanker and it was sailing from the US, and I think it was sailing to China or somewhere like that. And they were doing that trip, and they were out at sea for like 2 months, and then they get to the port, and then they throw the weapon away. Now that works in that situation because they're out at sea for 2 months before you get to port. But a super yacht goes sometimes it'll go like from, let's say it's in the Med, it'll go from Gibraltar to Spain to France to Italy, and each time you go, it's only like 24 hours in between. So how does that work? And also, if you go to a country that firearms are illegal, where are you buying the guns when you leave? Because you can't buy guns in the country if they're not allowed to have firearms, right? Not legally, at least. So now you're illegally buying weapons. I mean, it's crazy. Another solution was just hide your weapons. So I mentioned this in the previous video. If you have a super yacht like the ones that I work on, where there's a crew of 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, whatever, every inch of that vessel, the crew work in those areas, because as the engineers have to fix leaks and power, electrical people have to fix electrical issues. So you know every inch of that boat. There's not a place that you can hide stuff from the crew. So if you do have let's say in your master cabin, you have a secret place, it will eventually get found and everyone will know on board. And it only takes for one crew member who gets fired, who's disgruntled, and he just phones up the authorities and says, hey, I know a super yacht that carries weapons illegally. And then you'll all get arrested. Well, the whole crew will get arrested. If the boss is on board, he'll get arrested. Also, don't underestimate the people who come on board to search your vessel. They know all the tricks and they have the equipment. And I've heard stories of them being on board vessels for a week with X-ray machines, opening up the entrances into the keel, going down into areas that you have to actually pump oxygen in before people can go in because it's sealed.
Main problem down here, it's the rust. The rust actually pulls the oxygen out of the air as it oxidizes. And that's very dangerous for these inspectors. People have actually died trying to inspect these ships because of that rust pulling the oxygen out of the air in tiny little catacomb holes.
And they go in there and they search the whole place. So you might get away with it for a while, but then eventually they'll get found and everyone's getting arrested. So hiding them is not a solution. Okay, so that's the majority of the comments I get, which seem like practical solutions, but they're not practical solutions. And now let's go on to the silly comments bordering on crazy comments. So, okay, so let's go on to this. A common comment by gun people is that it's a human right to carry guns. It's not a human right to carry guns. It's a human right to self-defense, to defend your own life against attackers, but it's not a human right to carry firearms. So that's not true. Military ships from other nations don't have their guns seized. I've had this comment actually comes up, it's actually come up a few times. Well, they're not yachts, they're not civilian vessels, they're military vessels. And let's say an American warship or American naval vessel is sailing into the UK or into France or Italy, whatever. They have to get permission to enter the national waters of a foreign country, right? So if it, like for instance, you always see this stuff happening in the Persian Gulf. And let's say American vessel asks the Iranians, can we come into your waters? They're going to say no, right? And if they do go into the waters, then they're liable to be fired upon by the Iranian naval vessels.
These are the 10 Navy sailors whose boat drifted into Iranian waters, supposedly illegal waters. The Iranians took them into custody and held them overnight for nearly a day.
So, yeah, naval vessels do carry weapons into other countries' waters, but they do so by permission from that country, and they don't use them, and they keep them they keep them the way a naval vessel will keep weapons, small arms and stuff like that. But that's a completely different thing. It's a naval vessel. And here's some of here's a few of the crazy comments. God gives me the right to bear arms. No, he doesn't. God does not give anyone the right to bear arms. In fact, I'm no religious scholar, but I'm pretty sure that God says something about thou shalt not kill, right? And it's not thou shalt not kill unless someone shoots at me and then therefore I can light that motherfucker up. He doesn't say that. I think if you read your book, you might learn something about your own religion. I think it's a bit crazy to think that God wants you to be killing people. Okay, and the last couple of comments is, if you fly an American flag, you can do whatever you want. That is ridiculous because your vessel is registered, has an IMO number, International Maritime Organization number, and it also has the port of registry on the stern of the ship. So going out into international waters and putting an American flag on your vessel does not do anything.
Enchanter, you are a U.S. flag ship and we are going to board you. Heave to now. Also,
when you're in that port, even if you did have an American registry on your vessel, you still have to comply with the local laws. It's a myth that you can, if you're an American registered ship, that you can do whatever you want in a foreign port. You can't. It's not true. In the same way as you don't want a Russian vessel sailing into Miami and then doing illegal stuff on board, and they say, well, we're a Russian flag, so we can do whatever Russia says is legal. It doesn't work that way. And the last comment was, fly a Jolly Roger. So yeah, so do I have to really say anything about that? Flying a Jolly Roger is not. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about that one. In fact, the Sea Shepherds actually fly a type of Jolly Roger on their vessels when they're fighting whales and stuff like that. Fighting against whale poachers and stuff. It doesn't mean anything. It's not 300 years ago where you can fly a Jolly Roger. It doesn't work. All right, guys. So, like I said, I have a bit of a trepidation about posting the video about firearms because I did get a lot of flack for the last one. But I did want to address those comments because I think I need to address those comments because the way people comment in the comment section is they talk like they know what they're talking about, and oh yeah, you can just fly an American flag, or you can just you know, do this or that, and it's complete nonsense. So I just want to address some of those questions. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found it informative. I'll post a link at the end to the original video just in case you've missed it. And like I said, there are other videos in the past where I've broached the subject of firearms on board. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Just try to remember that I am just a messenger. I'm not the person who creates the laws. There's a lot of talk in the comments section about how bad it is that you're not allowed to take your guns. I didn't create those laws. That's the laws of every different country. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.